Hey guys, so today I have a video for y'all about open carry, concealed carry, and whether or not to carry a round in the chamber. In other words, carrying hot. For those of you who don't know, that's when you carry a bullet inside the chamber of your pistol. I myself am a person that prefers to carry without a round in the chamber. For one, because of safety reasons for myself as well as others. Because whenever, let's say, this training pistol here that we have, as you can see, is a training pistol. There's nothing in there. There's no magazines, nothing. Just purely a training pistol. So, let's say this is your carry pistol. Say you got it in a holster. And we have, say, something happens and, you know, you have to use your firearm. Okay, most people here in the U.S. carry hot. I noticed that in a lot of videos. A lot of videos with cops, a lot of videos with military, lots of regular people's just, you know, that carry. I myself prefer not to carry hot. Because when someone's reaching for their pistol inside their holster, most of the people make mistakes by grabbing it because they're so scared in the situation. When they pull, most of the time they are not doing this with their pistol. They're doing this, putting their finger on the trigger as they're pulling. Okay, when you do that, a lot of problems with that. It ends up going off, bang, hit your leg. You know, pull it. You know, as you're pulling it, do it like that, and then I see people shoot. You know, when people do it like that, a lot of times if they're not doing it, if they're not going to pull the trigger as soon as they start shooting, they go like that in training, and sometimes aren't paying attention to where they're pointing that gun. It goes off. Person without a round in the chamber like me, if I accidentally do that because I'm scared, I'm not going to have to worry about the round going off and going bang into my leg. I'm not going to have to worry about, oh, hey, wait a minute, you know, I hit someone because I accidentally pulled the trigger too soon. Now, for me, since I don't carry a round in the chamber, I can just pull up, hold out, cock that back, let it slide forward, bang, bang, bang. That way I'm in complete control of my firearm without the worry of it going off. Another thing, carrying a chamber in the round in the chamber, I'm sorry. You might encounter some pistols that have a bad habit of going off by themselves. That's a very bad thing. Very bad thing. Usually not very common, but with Sig Sauer pistols, it's happened. And some other models of pistols, it's happened. And I, for one, don't want to get shot in the leg, you know. Especially by a firearm that just went off by itself. You know, that's unacceptable. Why they allow people to sell firearms that continue to do that, particular models, is beyond me. But that's why 2 or 3 reasons right there why I don't carry hot. Another reason is because I see a lot of cops, a lot of amateurs, and a lot of certain militaries, not going to specify which military, but certain militaries that have made that mistake of pulling their firearm too fast, getting overly excited, getting their finger on the trigger, and bam, right into their leg. You know, it's all over YouTube. You can watch these videos anywhere. A good example would be to watch gun fail videos to see what mistakes people are making. Me, I have always trained myself to put my finger on the slide of the pistol. A lot of people like to do that. In fact, I would say most people train or would train to do that, which there's nothing wrong with. I have seen military people and some police train to put their finger on the trigger guard. Nothing wrong with that either. I know a lot of people that don't like people that do that. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay, there is no right or wrong way to really train, provided that you're not doing something ridiculous. So for me, I prefer to put my finger on the slide. I have been training with these little pellet guns and training pistols since I was, a kid. It's helped save me a lot of time and a lot of effort in terms of what to do with gun safety and what to do in case of a real life situation should something happen. Also, a good thing to do is, because it weighs like it does, it weighs like a real pistol, so it gives you that feel like you're handling a real firearm. That helps to a large degree. Another thing I would encourage people to do is to use training pistols for stuff like what I do, for like drawing and carrying around and stuff, like on your property, in your house and stuff. If you don't have a firearm, or it may if you do, it's good to have a training pistol, I would say, because it helps people from accidentally having misfires. It prevents people from having a real loaded gun pointing in the wrong direction of someone, like sweeping someone. Prevents basically common sense from being a thing of the past for some people. Some people are just so stupid that in these videos, whenever they use a firearm in their house, they film themselves, pointing the gun around and acting like a fool and holding it sideways and acting like an idiot, And over half the time, they have a round in the chamber. That's ridiculous. It's stupid. And it makes you look like an asshole. So, my advice to people like that is find a fake gun and train yourself with it, since you can't even train with a real pistol the right way. Same with law enforcement officers and stuff. So many of them have fucked up so much and have either shot themselves in the leg, like I was describing earlier, or they have played around with their firearm without checking to see if it's even loaded or not, and have hurt themselves or other people, or damaged their own property or someone else's property because of their negligence. Military people, some are like that, most are not. Why? Because they do more training. They spend more time with their firearms than any cop or any civilian. Now, there are some civilians out there that have spent plenty of time with firearms. Maybe even some that have spent more time with firearms than the actual military, which is great. But considering how people today, so many of them make that mistake of carrying a loaded firearm, using it in ways that shouldn't be used, like you see on YouTube, shouldn't even be happening. But they do. And people that carry hot around the chamber, nothing wrong with that. I don't see anything problem with people doing it for themselves. If that's something you want to do, that's fine. For me, personally, I choose not to. That's my personal choice. Now, I do have another pistol here, 1911, fake one. It's a pellet gun. If you can't find a trained pistol, another good thing would be a pellet gun. This one feels like a real pistol, works just like a real pistol. Has a magazine, as you can see, it's CO2. But you can imagine it, use your imagination and say that there's rounds in the magazine. Okay, you're putting your magazine into the magazine well, load it back. Of course, that would slide forward if it was real. If there's a round in the chamber, if there's not, it will stay stuck like that. If there is not a round in the chamber, if it's a real gun. But since it's a pellet gun, it's a little bit different. But it's good to train with to get your general idea of how to carry, how to handle the gun safely, and how to get a good feel for it, especially if this is the particular model you're going to carry. Now, this is one I've had since I was a little kid and have used it to put in a holster and to practice drawing with. Now, I noticed a lot of people are against kids training how to use firearms. There's nothing wrong with kids learning how to use firearms, provided that they are with a proper guardian. That's just my personal opinion on the matter. I feel differently than most people. But however, this is how I trained since I was a kid. You know, practice drawing, practice how to unload, how to reload, how to rack the slide, how to decock the hammer with your hand, as well as how to cock the hammer and put it on safe so that it can't fire. Take it off safe, bang. Put it on safe, won't go off. Simple stuff like that, and it can save you so much money, so much time, and so much effort when it comes to firearm safety and buying a firearm of your own. Now, is my way the only way to train? Of course not. Is someone else that teaches you how to use a firearm, is that the only way to do it? No. There are multiple ways of doing this, and how to use a pistol, how to train with it, how to carry it. It's all ultimately up to you, how you want to do it. Now, this is just my way of doing it. I prefer to not have around the chamber. I prefer to be able to just pull up, point outward, pull the slide back, let it slide forward, and bang, 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 bang. You know, that's what I'm going to do, you know, for my pistol, for my training. Now, for others, y'all may train differently, and that's fine. I would encourage anybody to train, even if it's not even exactly the same way that I do. It's a lot more easier whenever you do train. And it doesn't always have to be live fire training to be able to get proficient with your gun. Often, a lot of times, just the simple act of training to draw and how to function your firearm is good enough. Now, if you're looking for training on accuracy, then yeah, you're going to want to fire your gun. I would encourage people, if you had the money and you had the time, do it at least once a week. Take your gun to the range, fire it on, if you had the money and the time. Again, you know, for people that are less financially better, simply just train with a fake pistol, or maybe the pistol you bought unloaded is good to use for training of just the basic stuff. Now, for me, I don't like to use this technology to sight in your pistols and your firearms through your phone and all that. As good as that might be for some people, I don't like it because of the government and police being able to use that against you, to be able to monitor what you do with your stuff. It is none of the government's nor the police's business to know what I had, to what I do with my time, and what I do with my firearms. Granted, these are not real firearms right here. Like I said, these are all just pellet guns. Pellet guns and training pistols. And it's nobody's business what I carry. And it's none of the government's business how I train. It's none of the police's business how I train. It's nobody's business whatsoever on how I do things with firearms or in my private life. Just like with y'all guys. You guys have your private lives, I have mine. Everybody should learn to be respectful of each other's privacy, but sadly, today's day and age, that's not really happening. So take it with what I say with a grain of salt. But this is probably one of the best ways you can learn how to use a firearm is through these fake pistols, these BB guns, and stuff like that. And it also has its way of having fun too. You can make it really fun, especially for kids and older people and people that have no experience with firearms. Just to simply train them with the dummy guns, so like, you know, with the maneuvers, with the basic unloading, reloading of the firearms, the racking the slides, all that stuff. That's all good to know. In fact, that's mostly part of your biggest portion of training is going to be learning your firearm and learning your maneuvers with that firearm. So, firing your firearm is important, so that way you know the general how it's going to feel when it fires, what kind of rounds you may like to fire through said firearm. Also good to know how accurate you're going to be with your firearm. Those are all important factors as well, but not as important as your learning of the basic maneuvers and your basic knowledge on how to disassemble, reassemble, function the firearm. That's going to probably be your most important out of any of it. So that's all I have for you guys today. If you guys like the video with these guys and want to see possibly some more arguments or some more ways of how to carry your pistol, hit that like, subscribe, and be sure to comment. You know, I like to hear you guys' thoughts. See you guys in the next one.